All right, good evening. Can you hear me okay? Okay. If you can't hear very well online, please let us know. Put something in the chat to let us know that you can or can't hear us, okay? I appreciate you joining us today. My name is Sherry Johnson, and I am the Director of Curriculum and Instruction here at Richland School District. And I am here to talk to you about a new item that we are working on here at the district as the Richland School District's partner alternative charter school. So we are looking at doing some alternative learning options for our students. There we go. So where we got the acronym partner, you can see we were brainstorming what we wanted this to look like and what kind of students we were hoping to serve through this. And it's and also just to kind of tell people a little bit about what we're doing. So we want people to be problem solvers that join us. We expect there to be academic rigor and accountability. There's going to be responsibility that goes along with the academic rigor, and it's going to just transcend their learning experience beyond what they experienced prior. They're going to have to navigate. We are going to have to navigate. We are new to this. This is a new endeavor for us, and there's going to be a lot of learning that's done. So we're all going to have to navigate some things. We're going to elevate students and their learning beyond what they could even dream possible for themselves. And we're going to work together, team with them to ensure that they can grow to where they can do all the things that they want to do in their future. And we're also going to work on real world skills. Sorry, going in the wrong direction. So here are the things we're going to cover. It's not a real long agenda. It's very much an overview, so we can let you know what we're thinking and kind of get some information from you. Also, if you have some ideas and some feedback that might help us develop this program into what will be outstanding for our students. So I'm going to talk about what kind of students this is going to serve, what the learning design is, what the schedule will look like, what the environment is that we're hoping for, and the staff. I keep going the wrong direction, sorry. So the students, I know on the radio, Steve, Mr. Board said it was going to be 7th through 12th grade, but it's actually going to be 8th through 12th grade. And we're looking to start with about 15 students. We do have an application created, so students would apply and then get placed into a lottery. Since we're going to be doing a charter school, that allows us some flexibilities. And so due to that, we have to create a lottery and then accept the students from the lottery, and then they can officially enroll at that point. The reason we aren't doing 7th grade, 8th grade is more of an age where they can have job placement in the afternoons. We're just a little bit concerned about that 7th grade age right now. We're going to expand as we grow. Hopefully, that's what we're shooting for. Okay, there it is. Okay. Learning design. So we are going to be doing project-based learning. So there's a really great resource, and it's kind of I guess an app that we're going to be using where it helps us design learning for a student. So essentially what they will do is we'll have a student who comes to us who may be frustrated with their learning in their classes in our actual environment that they have here at the high school, or they're credit deficient, or they are coming to us and haven't learned at the Richland School District before. We may accept some open enrolled students, and we will design learning with them. They will join us in this design. And so what we'll have is this app where they will say, okay, here's the learning I want to do. I'm interested, and I always use this example, so I apologize if you've heard this before, but I love snowmobiles. Not me personally, but the student loves snowmobiles. And they want to do something with snowmobiles. And when they grow up, they'd like to be a mechanic that fixes snowmobiles, small motor vehicles. So what we would do is build a unit around this. Okay, what can you do? What is it you're wanting? Well, my snowmobile at home doesn't work. It needs something rebuilt. So we designed something based around that. We can find, we can design a whole learning unit using math, science, social studies, and reading, and it really design this full unit. You know, social studies can be laws and rules, especially if you're doing things with carburetors and sound. When it comes to the efficiency of a snowmobile, you have to follow some of those efficiency rules. When it comes to measurement and those types of things. That'd be math. When it comes to writing and reading, you're going to be looking at a manual, a snowmobile manual. When it comes to science, there's a lot of science involved in making an engine go. And so the student will be able to work with the teacher and design a learning unit that is based around what they love and the state standards. And we will then will assign credit for what it is they work on. And, you know, maybe if that student does some of the work on the weekend when their uncle comes by, then we document that also and help them build that unit so that they can get the hours in that they need in order to gain the credits that they're needing. The schedule we're looking at is approximately, you know, we're just kind of starting our planning here. So 8:30 to 11 in the morning would be our learning and meeting, our meeting and learning time, where students would either be meeting with a teacher if there's some part of their learning that they're needing, whether it's they need some help on the math in this unit that they're working on, or if they're going to have full group meetings where they actually work on skills together. You know, we'll be doing a lot of social emotional learning. We may be bringing in experts on certain topics and areas that students might want to, we would require students to attend so that they can gain all that information that expert's there for. The afternoon then would be a work/job placement with some additional supports. So our teacher for this program would then help get that student engaged in the workplace, whether the student already has a job or wants to get a job. We would help them go through the whole process of applying, interviewing, and then all the soft skills that are involved in having a job. That teacher would help work through that with them. If the student already has a job, then we would still, there's a lot to be learned through this job that the teacher would help them work through. Also in the afternoons is when the staff would be able to do a little planning and then be supportive in the field in the afternoons. The environment. So partner students really need a facility that is an area designed for their learning needs. So for example, in the building that I'm in right now, I'm in the high school, there are bells, there are a lot of requirements, and there's a very strong structure and foundation in what happens in this building. And so what we need is a place that doesn't have that. Alternative learning has no timeline. I mean, we as teachers would eventually, you know, we impress some of that on, but truly we don't want a timeline to prevent a student's learning from happening. So we would need this facility to help us facilitate that timeline or the lack of timeline. So they would need to have comfortable furniture, facilities that would allow them to do all the flexible learning they need, whether it's soft furniture for lounging or it's stand-up furniture. We would also need a kitchen area because we'd be doing life skills, a laundry area so that they could learn how to do laundry and those types of things. We would love to have an area where eventually or currently has a shop where students who want to do some of that project-based learning would be able to do some of that. However, essentially we would need to build a whole big facility, but what we want to do is design this space around the actual students we have. So I don't want to say exactly what this facility needs until I have our students there and ready and helping us work through what facilities and pieces they need. We would need flexible rooms. So we'd want to have space where students could work in small groups. We'd want to have space where students could work alone. We'd want to have space where students could work just with their teacher. Or we'd need a large space where they can be communal and have a meal together or prepare a project as a whole class or as a large group. And it must foster independence. And we want it to be transitional to the community. So sometimes when you're in a school, it definitely feels like a school. And so we want this facility to feel less like a school and more like their learning space. Whatever it is they want that to be, that's what we want it to look like and feel like. The staff, to start with, we'd be having one teacher, and we need that teacher to have an alternative education license that allows them to help us teach all areas, all content areas. We have visited several alternative schools, and in many of them, they actually have teachers of the different content areas, like a social studies English teacher, a math science teacher, those types of things. And I'm not saying that down the line we might not go to that, but for right now, an alternative ed licensed teacher is what we'd be looking for. We would also be getting supports from the school psych myself, the Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Director of Technology, Director of Operations, Director of Special Education, because our students are our students and we still need to support them no matter where they're located and no matter how they're learning. The timeline that we're looking at, as you can see, first thing right here, community information meeting is today. We need to decide on a location. And once we decide on a location, then we need to furnish it. And I'm not talking, because we do have facilities that the district currently owns, but they have little tiny potties in them and they have, like it feels like a school. And so if that's the facility we'd be using, then we need to kind of revamp it a little bit. So we just need to get that figured out so we can make sure we have a location to land come this fall. In late May, once we get some paperwork pieces done with our Board of Education, our governance board and the DPI, then we could actually start enrolling students. And then this summer, then the teacher and the other staff would be working wherever this location is, and we'd be preparing for that September 1st start date. Now, what's nice with the charter school is we have flexibility. So if we start on the 1st, great. If we have to wait a little bit, we have that ability to flex our time, whether it's calendar, whether it's clock. Like I said, in alternative ed, you're not time bound. So students can learn anytime, anywhere, and we are going to encourage and support them in that. And then August, September, we're going to continue enrolling students and open our doors to the new partner, Richland Alternative Charter School. That's a big long name and partner is what we're probably going to call it. But the alternative part is the alternative learning. The charter part is the flexibility. And so we're hoping that the two marry well so we can really ensure that the students who are going to have more success in a different kind of atmosphere really can do all that they want to do, because we can have some of those flexibilities. All right, so that's kind of the big overarching ideas and timeline as to what we're doing. And so I'm looking forward to hearing some questions or ideas. If there's somebody virtually that wants to speak, you can raise your hand with a little raise your hand icon. If there's anybody here in the room that would like to ask a question, or maybe if some of you know what this is, so you might have some ideas that I forgot. So anybody have anything they'd like to share?
I have lots of questions.
Yes, absolutely.
Are you trying to, those first 15 students, are you going to be looking for like across the grades, or if 20 10th graders apply, are you going to accept 15, or are you specifically looking for that?
The number was just kind of a number. It's more like how many really would like to be served in this way. Mm-hmm. It's really not, this isn't like a pre-expulsion situation or anything like that. This is truly students who need to learn alternatively. And so really kind of understanding students, meeting with them as we enroll them, so that way we truly understand what their needs are.
So you're not looking for like that cross-section of like 5 different grades?
I want to make sure we can serve any and all.
Okay.
But if we get 70 applicants, we can't take that right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Then also, is this specifically targeted to at-risk students, or are you just any student could enroll?
I would, it's not specifically directed toward at-risk students, but that is who I picture in my heart when I think of this. So I'm hopeful that we can meet some of the needs of our students who are at risk. Keep going. That's fine.
Maybe.
Oh, we've got a hand. Okay. I'm going to unmute. We're going to unmute you, Mindy.
Okay.
All right.
I did ask it in the chat, but I didn't know whether or not you saw it. So how does this work for students who have who don't have enough credits? My daughter was homeschooled during the pandemic, and it wasn't, a curriculum based thing. It wasn't like, there wasn't a specific website. We didn't do an actual virtual school thing. It was kind of more of an unschooling type thing. And that's basically what she's doing now, because she didn't have enough credits to be able to graduate with her class. Is this something that would help her to get to that point? How would that work?
Well, every student would be individual, so I would want to make sure I knew exactly what we were looking at before I gave a, exact answer. But what I'll tell you is that we would do competency credits. And so there's a lot of ways to find out what students know and then give them credit for that, and then help them with what they don't know. And then that would complete their credit. So like for biology, I picture, there's a lot of high school students who take biology as their science class. Well, if they do a project-based learning and they have biology parts to that, if you look at the state standards and whatever it is they're working on, they might get a few of those standards. We can count that for a real, a partial credit. But then we have some web-based processes. Like right now we use Apex, but we're looking to change that. We can give them what's kind of like a diagnostic test to kind of see what they know. And then that's done. Once we see they know this stuff, then we decide how much credit that's worth. And then we will give them the rest of that credit by working through some of those pieces or adding it to more project-based learning. Does that answer your question, Mindy?
Sort of, yeah. Yeah, because at this point she'll be 18 in September, and she's just gonna just planning on doing her GED. So just kind of was wondering whether or not this would be something that would be, a good idea for her instead.
Well, it's really up to you and her, like what kind of experience that would she like? Is it a timeline situation? Because if it's a timeline thing, then GED would probably be faster. Depending on how many credits they have, that type of thing. But you just never know. Every student is different, and I don't know how many credits we would need to gain for them, but I never say never, especially with alternative education. We usually find a way.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. What other questions?
How will you handle IEPs?
We will have, we're hoping, I don't know how this will go, because right now our special ed teachers take a grade level. And then the next year is a different special ed teacher for that grade level. And so they're actually working on doing some changes with that for next year for in-building students. And so I'm hoping I can kind of corner somebody to actually just say, hey, we have these IEP students. Will you take them all for our charter students? But they would get served. We'd have to follow their IEP and make sure that they get served. Eventually, and this is me dreaming, pie in the sky kind of thing, but I would love to have a special ed teacher on staff. I think that would be best for students, depending on who we get. Truly, we're talking about students, we don't have any, but we'll just have to see who decides this is a good fit for them, who wants to try it. Some kids are really excited about trying new things. We have a lot of students who aren't. Change is scary, and so and we're building this as we go, because we want the students to be a part of the building so that they are engaged and involved and bought in. As a person that works in schools, I was a teacher for a lot of years. I like to have plans. I like to have lots of plans and lay them all out and know exactly what's going to happen for the next so many weeks. So this is really different for me, but I'm actually feeling a lot of peace by saying that the students are just going to help us with this. And I don't want to put them in a box and say, this is what's going to happen. They're going to join us and we'll see where we go.
And to just add to some of the things that Sherry has said, I got to go on one of the visits to Mauston's iLead program. And like they had students who were working on animation or, computer programming or those things. So it's not only, our students looking at mechanics or looking at just project-based learning because they're struggling in this environment, but also students who really could excel if they had an opportunity to focus more in an area that they are extremely interested in. And they had students, I think iLead that year had a student going to Harvard from that program.
And kids getting, actually, like, we have 26 credits that students are required to graduate from Richland School District with, and that's regular ed students. They had students graduating with 30, 32, 38 credits because they just kept going. You know, they just wanted to keep doing more and growing. And that's what's kind of exciting. You know, we have a whole community here who's just been waiting for us to ask them for support and help. And so I'm excited to foster some of those relationships. Maybe you have another question? She's been on mute.
Yeah, sorry. So the other, since you guys mentioned that, so my 14-year-old Matthew, his dream is to be a mechanical engineer. He's going to be a freshman next year. And I had asked him about it, you know, about doing this, wanting to see where he, you know, what his thoughts were. One of the reasons that he wanted to go back to school was because he missed his friend. But his biggest concern when I was talking to him about it was, you know, are they gonna, you know, teach me AP calculus, because that's something that I'm gonna need to be a mechanical engineer, you know, for college and things like that. So I think he's concerned about whether or not he's going to be able to learn the things that he's going to need for, you know, college to do that.
There's a way. Like I said, I don't want to ever say never. So essentially we can, I mean, there's ways for us to get AP curriculum and to help them work through that themselves. However, we still have access to this whole district. So if a student is okay and comfortable with entering the high school, they are welcome to join for any of the classes here.
Okay.
So that we don't want to restrict any of that.
So they could essentially do both.
Yep.
Basically.
Yes.
Okay.
So are you looking at locations that are like within walking distance of the
Yeah.
high school?
I'm hopeful. Yeah. Eventually, I'd love to get our own van or something like that that we can transport. Till then, I might use the Johnson Mobile. See? What other questions do we have? Or ideas or concerns?
I just have a comment. So I work closely with a lot of students that are struggling to come to this building or truant, and a lot of them just have anxiety about being in this big building with so many people, and they want an option. So I think this is great that we have this to possibly offer them, because they stay in touch, they're answering my phone calls, but they just are having some anxiousness about the large amount of people and the groups. And I think this would help them so that they can keep going and learn too.
There's definitely, you know, it's interesting the different platforms we have. You know, we have our ROA, our Richland Online Academy, whose presence is probably going to decrease as we increase our alternative offerings. Because alternative or online learning is difficult, it takes a special student, and we're learning that now after the pandemic. And so, you know, as we work through some of this, there's still going to be restrictions and requirements. You know, there may be students who think that this design is perfect for them and they come a few times and then they don't come for a while. We're still going to have to hold them accountable for attendance and those types of things and growth. You know, we have to make sure that they're going to still have to take our state tests. There's just no way around that. And we, you know, so we still need to show that they are learning and growing and becoming who the state of Wisconsin is paying for them to become. I guess is how you want to look at it. It's kind of crappy to say it like that, but I shouldn't have said that word on here, so I apologize. But it truly is accountability. Like that's a big part of this, and students are going to need to know that they still have that, even if we're in a different design of learning. I think that they will naturally, if this is a fit for them, they will naturally shoulder that gracefully. Honestly, like if it's a really nice design and it fits for them, then that responsibility of showing up and doing what, you know, what's asked of them is going to be a lot easier. I feel like I'm babbling now, so I don't want to waste people's time, but I'm kind of passionate about it and all that type of stuff. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Zimmerman, you look like have something.
Thinking through it, that's all. I was thinking if someone didn't want to work, they could come back and take courses here.
Oh, for sure, in the afternoons.
And if they're concerned about, like a mechanical engineer wanting to take some upper level coursework, we could do that too. Get the project based in the morning and those upper level classes in the afternoon too. Like you said, never say never.
Right. Yeah,
And
that's
Mindy,
what's-
as a note, we have a new intro to engineering class that happened this year, so.
Yes. Yeah. And we don't know, we have new staff coming in into our tech ed department this year for the in-building learning, and with new staff comes new ideas and exciting things, so it's hard to say what that will look like as we move ahead, but I'm excited because I'm hoping they work with us. I don't feel like we're gonna be isolated. We're not gonna be in silos. Just not gonna let it happen. We've got to work together. There's too many beautiful resources up here for us to not still let our students utilize it, no matter where the student is learning.
Just thinking about, I totally lost my question.
Is something that you said?
I'm sorry,
That's okay.
but things, the thoughts float in and out of my head frequently.
I get that too. If it pops up, let me know.
Oh, I got it. The work time. Is that designed to be in line with their future career hopes, or is just working at McDonald's or?
Both. So
Okay.
we could do either, hopeful to do both. So essentially, if they have a job at McDonald's, there's still a lot of learning that can be done. We can also give them some competencies for that. If they're working with money, if they're working with scheduling, like if they start to ask, they could ask for a little more responsibility and say, hey, could you teach me how to do the schedule? Well, that's a competency right there. So there's skills that can be learned just with wherever they want to work. But truly having goals and trying to figure out what they want to be, maybe they don't know. So then we can try out a few, the Tesniks. I'm real hopeful that they will join in and I hope we can provide some great opportunities for them and for us. I think we're going to learn a lot in the next year.
You do have a question.
Good.
Pre-enrollment process. Are you looking at an online application, but are you also looking at an interview as a part of their enrollment?
So we have we do have an online app, real simple, general, like there's not a lot we can ask. But I do before like full on enrollment, it's kind of like with the ROA. When a student says they're interested, we're like, yes, come in so we can talk with you. And then we want to kind of make sure that it's a fit.
Yep,
Yeah,
I think
it's-
that's an important part. to
Yeah.
have and hear from the student. Why do you want to do this?
Right.
And what are your interests, and just see where they are with it. I think that's especially if you have a number of students applying, I think that's an important part.
Yes.
They really want to do this.
Right. I'm hopeful to work closely also with College Up, and Southwest Tech has a lot of great programs that I want to plug the students into and get them certified and licensed, and anything would be fantastic. So there's just so many pieces and opportunities. And when you have the flexibility of a charter alternative setting, it's almost limitless. There are rules, but not as many as in here in the Richland district. So not district, in a traditional school district, school building.
Through the DPI.
Yes.
There's a lot of rules. And I
Yes.
think the DPI is pretty clear that the point of starting an alternative school is to see what works better for students than what's currently working. I think I love the part that says on their alternative page on the DPI website says the point of alternative education is the hope that it would be open to more students. I think this might be on the at-risk page, but it's not, it's finding what works for all students. Sometimes your most vulnerable students have to push you and push the margins for people to feel what really works best for all students. So.
Agreed. Yeah, once I started visiting alternative schools, I just thought,
Yeah,
why isn't everybody learning like this?
yes, exactly.
Um,
I feel
But
the same
all the
way.
requirements that are laid out by DPI don't allow it. truly.
Right, it's not that the mean old teachers and
Right.
staff at this school
Right.
doesn't want to let kids learn like that.
Right. So let's develop the model that changes the world.
Well, sure, because I
Okay.
think the more people that get on board with alternative schools and then the more, the DPI will hear like, this is working, kids are learning and they're more excited about coming to school and they're going to Harvard and other colleges. And maybe we can open this up, to the broader.
Absolutely.
So that's exciting. This is
Yes.
super exciting. Thank you for leading this, Sherry.
Oh, I'm excited to be a part of it. And then I'm hoping we raise up at least one of them who wants to come back and teach.
Yeah,
in the-
absolutely.
In the format. Right?
And the alternative license isn't hard to get. It's
It's
just
not.
2 classes that you can take in the summer.
Yes.
Intense.
Okay. And ask one more time, any other questions? If you think of anything, those of you online or here, let me know. I need to know, truly, like I want to know. I'm saying all the words and I'm thinking all the things, but I have so much to learn yet, as we all do as we work through this process, so.
If we could ask David, David had his hand up very briefly. David, if you do have a question, you are welcome to ask it. I'm gonna do the unmute thing now. If you'd like to, if you changed your mind, you can always email us as well.
Okay. Well, if you think of it or you want to reach out, let us know. I'm on the website, but again, my name is Sherry Johnson, JOHS @richland.k12.wi.us. Or you call the district office and, well, not this week, but next week, I'll be available. We're AP testing right now, so kind of out. Okay, well, I appreciate everybody attending today. I'm really excited, so we're moving forward. This is the beginning, and as we get more input and ideas, we'll grow this together. Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. All right, did you end it?